The Rivers State political crisis is a prolonged power struggle between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, now Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, what began as an internal political disagreement quickly escalated into open conflict, dividing the Rivers State House of Assembly and leading to impeachment threats, court cases, protests, and disruptions to governance. Repeated mediation attempts have failed, prompting federal intervention. President Bola Tinubu has held several reconciliation meetings, urging Wike to de-escalate impeachment plans against Fubara, while directing Fubara to recognize Wike as the dominant political leaders in Rivers politics.
After another late-night meeting at the presidential villa yesterday, both men were seen living together in the same vehicle, a symbolic gesture suggesting a possible third. Join us this morning on Breakfast Central to discuss this is writer and political activist Caleb Fubara, not Siminalayi Fubara. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Caleb Fubara, your namesake with the current governor. We're happy to have you join us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
It seems we've been here before. It has a deja vu feeling. Yes, there's an announcement that there's a thaw. Both parties have accepted the olive branch. You know, it feels like kumbaya. And then a few weeks down the line, they're already, you know, somebody is cursing that you shouldn't allow people to betray you. There should be punishment for this, you know, throwing jabs at each other, and then we're back to square one. Is it, can we say that it's Uhuru in Rivers State?
It has never...
And the fact that the #1 citizen of the country has intervened and left everything he's doing late at night to once again, you know, settle these two fighting, to de-escalate the fight. Is it yet Uhuru in Rivers State?
There has never been Uhuru, and there will be no Uhuru when the arbiter is biased. And with due respect, I'm referring to Mr. President. He is biased in the matter, so it will be very difficult.
On what grounds do you say?
No, at the point he lifted the state of emergency, I wrote an article I titled President Tinubu and the Satanic Hijack of Rivers State, a post-mortem. Because at the time he had lifted the state of emergency, in quote, graciously, because it was at his mercy. But you see, at that point, the damage has been done. You see, why this whole thing is happening is because there are 3 men in Rivers State who by now should either be talking to the EFCC or should either be somewhere cooling off. But the fact that these men are still roaming free and still calling the shots across board, that's why you still see this.
For the sake of our viewers, who are these men you're referring to?
The first is Dr. Peter Dele. The man, I think, laid a very wrong foundation in today's Rivers State. You know, Rivers State used to be Bayelsa and the present-day Rivers State together until 1996. But after 1996, the first person we had was this Fourth Republic, was Dr. Peter Odele. So it was incumbent on Odele to lay the foundation, and he did. But what he laid as a foundation is what we are reaping today. Unfortunately, Wike has taken it to a dizzying height, right? It started with Dr. Peter Odele because Odele personalized government. The government of Rivers State was about Peter Odele. You know what I'm trying to explain? So by the time...
Did Rotimi Amechi also continue this trajectory?
Yeah, the next person is Rotimi Amechi. Rotimi Amechi was a bit fair because in his first term, you will say he did very well. But by the time he too was consumed by this same ambition of wanting to move from being Rivers governor to president of Nigeria, he lost track. And so the whole of his second term was a disaster. But give it to Rotimi Amechi. If you give him 45%, Odele probably will be about 20. As for Wike, I don't know what to rate. Because if you ask me, Wike simply saw the state as his own personal enterprise. And it's been difficult for anybody. I have said before that the best thing that would have happened is for Governor Fubara to resign at the point they declared that state of emergency, let this young man, Amehule, this current speaker, run the state as governor, acting governor. And I give you, it will not take 48 hours for the whole world to know that what Fubara is enduring and has endured this while, Amehule will not take it from Wike. Forget what you're saying today. In 48 hours.
Are you sure about that?
I'm telling you.
Because they seem to be aligned on the same path.
No. The alignment is because they have a common enemy in the governor now.
The enemy of my...
Enemy is my friend. Exactly. And unfortunately for the president, he doesn't seem to realize that. The problem Fubara is having with Wike today is to his own benefit. Because were it not for what is happening, Fubara was supposed to come in there as a puppet. Right? Wike detects the tune. But the young man came in, and perhaps one or two persons spoke to him. You're the governor, you have to answer to the people. And he decided to do something differently from what...
And that's what the FCT minister is calling a betrayal.
No.
And he said agreement is agreement.
Agreement. Good. Thanks for that question. Agreement is agreement. As far as I'm concerned, it is not this thing you see them discuss with Tinubu. I'm even surprised that the president is not tired settling Wike and Fubara. I am surprised that the president has all the time to, it happens, they run to him, he will settle. How long will you settle one matter? Agreement is agreement. If you ask me, in my own opinion, it is not this one you see them doing. It is not the truce of December 11, 2023. No, it is not the second one. I have a feeling that there is an agreement even before the man became a governor. That is before Fubara was elected. An agreement, I believe, isn't just normal political give and take. I see the man as somebody who has a spell as the governor, because I know him very well. He's a very outspoken, opinionated human being. So for him, the person I'm seeing now as governor is not the same I know.
Don't you think that, in a way, maybe him moving to the All Progressives Congress might have had some impact in how governance would have been run in the state and brought some sense of calm?
No, because from the word go, he was running to APC like a man who had no choice. It was an options choice for him. A man who found himself in a catch-22 situation. If he remained where he was, it's trouble for him.
Between a hard rock and a...
the Blue
Sea. Right? So at the point he even left, look at what happened to him. This is a man of all the other governors. It is convention that if you are the governor of a state, you naturally assume the position of the leader. Why is Rivers' own case a case we have to debate? A case the president has to wade in to say, this one is the leader and this one is not the leader.
One of his ward.
But at the end of the day, we're in blaming the president and all of this. It is these same Rivers people that form the structure that the FCT minister is leading. It is the same. You will see now when he arrives with his motorcade in Port Harcourt, they will come out en masse to be dancing and celebrating and singing with him. It's still the same people
the
in Rivers State.
reason why you see what you're saying, that is why we in Rivers Awake, we just form a group, a movement that is called Rivers Awake. We are simply saying enough is enough. We're not going to go about it the way the politicians do their thing. But it's a matter of making sure that this message permeates. Because this whole thing is about votes for Tinubu, no problem. Wike and Fubara are fighting each other to say we want to deliver Tinubu. But in fighting each other to deliver Tinubu, what are they saying about the Rivers people? The Rivers man is not in the equation of how to deliver Tinubu.
Mr. Fubara, I mean, until you just said that now, my first question to you was really going to be about, is there anything like the Rivers people? Because it seems like in the past 2 years or more, the focus has been on
who's on the sideline.
The politicking. And sometimes I wonder, I mean, I've been to Rivers State, beautiful place, wonderful people, vibrant. But yet again, it seems like everybody is keeping quiet and enjoying what's going on.
No.
And the dividends of democracy is not touching anybody.
See, it's a very fantastic question. That's why, that brings me back to where I'm coming from, the foundation.
Okay.
You know that the Rivers people are very vibrant people. That was why opposition to the sitting governor in 1999, between 1999 and 2003, seemed to have started in Rivers State because of the elders who came together and brought Odili to be voted into office, right? But when that struggle led to the death of two prominent Ijaw sons, people were being shot. A member of the State House of Assembly who was on the opposition was killed in his house. Till today, none of these murders have been resolved. No one person has been arrested. It sent jitters into people. Now, if you fast forward to Wike, there is this lawyer. His name, he was Ken Aswete. As I'm talking to you in the studio, he was at a radio station. He had this leaning towards Amechi. So there were things he was saying about Wike's government. And as I speak with you, that young man was just telling them, I'm bringing facts to prove what I am saying, because there were questions they asked him. And by the time he finished, the people were like, are you sure? Can you prove this? He said, by Monday, this interview was happening about Friday, Saturday. Do you know that by Sunday morning, he promised them he was going to bring records to prove what he was saying as a lawyer? Ken Aswete. By Sunday morning, about 2 a.m., he was killed in Port Harcourt. So one killing too many is the reason why you see this level of acquiescence. You understand? What you have in Rivers State is peace of the graveyard. People are murmuring. But the people have so weaponized governments, weaponized hunger, no job. Of all these things that we're talking about, Rivers State has 2 natural seaports. Of all the flamboyant governors we've had, right? None of them has said anything about those seaports. 2 natural seaports. Port Harcourt is the capital of the eastern ports. The one you have in Calabar. These ports were working until recently. None of them talks about such thing that only the Onne port will give you direct jobs, 3,000 jobs. They don't want nobody to work. Rivers State government has over 10 companies. We have Pabot breweries. Beer is being brewed, built by the government of DTSPIF in Rivers State. We have glass industry. We have boat yard. We have speedboats being manufactured. They are all moribund. They are all in Port Harcourt. The place, the first government in Rivers State, dedicated as an industrial hub of Rivers State called Transamadi, is dead today. You could excuse the military men because they were under command.
Yes.
They will come, maybe you're serving just 9 months, they call you back, post another person. But for these ones who the people vote for, Odili had solid 8 years. At the end of those 8 years, what do we have to show as
also
legacy?
Get all derivation, so extra.
We're not even talking about the money yet.
Yes.
We're not even talking about, because none of these persons, they spend the money as their personal money. Odili was the first person to buy a jet in the history of this country. We were told that the jets were supposed to be ambulance.
Yeah.
But the question is, you don't have ambulance on the ground to take man from one point to the other. You're talking of ambulance now to fly people outside the country.
It's priorities. Now let's talk about the opposition in Rivers State, because there are people that are fed up, and like you said, and we've also suspected there's a graveyard peace. There's been murmuring, because logically, there are people that would say that all you guys and your agreement and whatever you have agreed, we don't want any one of you, Fubara or Wike, we need a breath of fresh air. Are there no third forces or no opposition that is selling a new Rivers? Rivers without godfathers and agreements, a Rivers that really cares about the people?
That's what we are doing.
Rivers awake.
Rivers awake. That's what it is about. We have...
Yeah, but you're not a political party.
No. We'll fuse into a political party. Or we might not even need to go there. What we need to do is to send the message, get the message to permeate People should cry in churches, fast, pray. Those ones in the mosque.
Do you have the resources to
No.
get the message across?
Exactly.
I mean, it's money politics. Do you have a live band? Do you have all the other things that they use in Rivers State to convince the people?
No, my dear, that is very, very crucial. I like this kind of question that is hitting directly on the issues. We don't have the resources. But there is something a few of us that come together to form Rivers Awake have come to understand. Like Nnamdi will say, show the people the way and they will follow. There is something about the masses. If you go to Port Harcourt today, in the bus, the taxi driver, who is not even a Rivers man, who is an indigene, is angered about what is playing out. You understand? So all that we need to do is to get the message across. And then we expect people who have been looking for an avenue, you understand, to file in. Because as it stands today, for every Rivers person, whether you're in Port Harcourt, whether you're in Abuja, Lagos, in the diaspora, for as long as you refuse to say a thing about what is happening today, you are complicit. I have no personal issues with Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike. But I tell you, it is wrong of him to think that Rivers State is his personal property. That's just the problem you're saying here. This whole problem is not in all the structure. Look at when the structure started. People were voted into office. Just barely 3 months. It's not as if you're getting ready to go for an election. Barely 3 months. You're talking of structure. Who wants to take structure? To do what? What would the governor that was just voted into office take structure to do in 3 months?
But have the people of Rivers been able to decipher this structure? What, because Nigerians keep hearing structure.
No.
What Nigerians think about
the structure.
A structure that comes with positioning your own people in power.
Exactly. That is why she asked the question. I was to take that question before.
Okay, all right, please.
Now see why I talk about the president. Yes, in politics, it is not a game of scruples, no doubt. But at the level Mr. President is today, apart from being the president of this country, he is a statesman. He is a man we're supposed to see as a man with all the credentials of a Democrat. He was with Bola Ige when Bola Ige referred to Abacha's 5 parties as the 5 fingers of a leprous hand. He was in Nadeko. He was one of those who fought for democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is just equal right. That's what democracy is about. But what we're seeing now is might. He is helping Wike to enthrone a democratic tyrant. Where on earth will you have a governor sitting to take orders? Yes, you do not deny the fact that Wike is the greatest human factor in the making of Governor Fubara. Nobody is denying that. In fact, when our brother was voted into office, we were driving to Pobo. I was in a car with one of my friends. We were driving home. We got to a point and we're like, at this point, I think we'll suggest to Mr. Governor, you understand, that we'll have a life-size statue of Nyesom Wike, like an entry into Pobo, because we are a minority. The man who is the governor today was just a civil servant doing his thing. So how he found favor around Wike? But it is not enough.
And maybe that's what is paining
No, I'm coming. It is not enough. The man also helped him. That is the other side of the story. But the unfortunate thing with the governor too is that he will not let us know his own side of the story. All these intermittent outbursts, it's not the issue. The reason why Wike knows what perception means in this kind of game. So you see him every day wanting you to hear his own side of the story. And he tells Fubara that he is a betrayer. It is only a man who is dead that is not supposed to be asked his own side. Yeah. Exactly. But unfortunately for Rivers people, the governor has refused to address the state on this matter. It is just this hide and seek. We only hear that, oh, I have settled with my godfather. Oh, the matter is between son and father and all that. But back to what I was trying to say. When this whole thing, if you watch, Fubara wasn't just a pushover, if not for anything, by the office he occupied, right? So the moment, let's say some persons got him to realize that he is the governor of the state, the man who has the power to sign a death warrant. Fubara now started asserting himself. It's simple. Do you know that before now, the question is, what was happening before now? We just got to know barely 6 months of Fubara being in office that, oh, Rivers State realizes about 30-something billion. But all these other last 8 years, we've been hearing between 12, 13 billion. So this structure thing you're talking about is just about the Rivers resources.
Okay.
The man is bent on being the president. He is possessed about being president. The only reason why you see Wike is now sticking to plan B is because Fubara did not allow that free flow of Rivers Fund. Otherwise, the way we see it, the man himself would have been the person who would have resigned about next month from Tinubu's government and then put the PDP together. A man who is destroying the party, exactly, for this election, this 2027 election.
All right, you know what? Let's go to break. We'll come back and we'll still expand some more on what the future plans are for His Excellency Nyesom Wike, as well as His Excellency Governor Siminalayi Fubara. We're going to break.
Thank you.
And we'll come back to continue the conversation about Rivers State. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at Rivers State, joined this morning by writer and a son of the soil. We have Caleb Fubara. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So now you've spoken so strongly about your disappointment in how things have turned out in Rivers State, including the role that the president played so far. So what is the role going forward? We can't stop we can't stop where we are. There's already news about how the governor is most likely to release a list of commissioners after the meeting with Asovila, a list of commissioners to be presented to, Amewule and, all the other lawmakers. And
has the impeachment been suspended, the impeachment proceedings? What's the latest on that?
No, so you can see that rather than the president allow the process, you understand, to play out, this president steps in, president is not even helping the matter, because it is of the assembly to impeach a governor when they feel that the governor has cases to answer, right? But when you start that process, you don't start the process like using it as a campaign, a blueprint for your own campaign. Look at what we hear. Oh, that they came back, they wanted 600 billion, they have 600 billion. What is the governor doing about 600 billion and all that? And before you knew it, boom, it's about impeachment. And then because there's an impeachment, today, if you ask me, there are 4 governors ruling the states. The governor that's elected by the people, Amewule is now a governor in his own right. He's no longer speaker. He's like an opposition governor. And then you have the Honorable Minister of the FCT, who sees himself as the
emeritus governor.
My dear brother, help me. And then the president, who is the general overseer. It's all about one state. What is happening?
So we're going into elections last year. Finally, before we let you go, will there be a hard reset? And will they finally give Rivers people an opportunity to, to reflect and start all over again? Because how many years of pure governance do you even have in this first year? Those suspension is always one fight to the other.
Ordinarily, you see, that is why this whole thing is looking like a spite on the job people. Now, Rivers State was touted at some point as a state that was created for job people. But let's not go into that. Now, you move the chunk that is Bayelsa today. Now, the whole of the job people is a state where you have 19 ethnic nationality, right? You have 3 senatorial districts. And then you have what used to be the dividing upland riverine dichotomy, because virtually all the Jaw clans that are in Rivers State today are the riverine. Then all the other group, Eche, Ogoni, Ekwere, Ekwe, those ones are upland. So it's like everything upland versus the job people. Now, Odili left office. It was of the upland. He did 8 years and left. Amechi took over from him. This dynasty thing started with him. Because for whatever it was, even when the opposition at that point said it was Ikwere turn, it was like something everybody agreed that it should go to Ikwere at that time. Who should succeed Odili? But Odili ensured that it shouldn't be one Austin Okpara. It shouldn't be any other person outside that his kitchen cabinet. And then gave ticket to Amechi, who everybody knows was his boy. Amechi worked with him. He raised Amechi. Amechi was his PA. Amechi was everything to him. Now, but what happened? Amechi now had 8 years to assuage the Ikwere people, because at some time in Port Harcourt, you know, Port Harcourt, part of Port Harcourt, in fact, the greater part of Port Harcourt is Ikwere land. Then the other side is where you have the Okrika people and Kalabari people. But you know what happened? At some point in Port Harcourt, if you do something, the thing you hear the people say is Elinda. Elinda simply translates to mean my father's land. It's just like you're coming to oppress me in my father's land. So it got to that point where it was like, give them that sense of belonging. And the Ikwere people had it in Amechi 8 years. That brings me back again to Dili. As a statesman who knows the politics of the place, when the Jonathans brought Wike to him, simple. It was a matter of whisper. Given the volatility of this place, Amechi is just finishing, whatever it is. The Jonathan brought Wike to spite Amechi. They were not altruistic about it. It wasn't about Rivers people. And that's not how leadership should operate. It's just like what the president is doing today. What about tomorrow? Because when you install a democratic tyrant over a state, Odili was in a position at the point to say, please, Wike was actually, his problem with Amechi started when he wanted to go to the Senate. Amechi wanted to keep the seat for himself. By the time he finishes in 2015, he knew if he gave it to Wike in 2011, that he will not come back by 2015 to say, Wike, give me back the seat. So instead, he gave it to an Okrika man to keep it for himself. But by the time Amechi got into second term, as the chairman of Governors Forum, one young man in his cabinet and a Delta guy walked up to Amechi and said, look at your brother. He doesn't know what is in there. You are the leader of all the governors in Nigeria. So what again? So, but Amechi knew what it would look like wanting to go against Jonathan. So what Amechi now started fighting for was how he could run with some other person from the north against Jonathan. That was what led to that problem. Oh. Well, so now back to the question you asked me.
In 30 seconds, please.
Right. It is no longer about them. Because what they are doing now, it is not about Rivers people. But we know in Rivers State, for instance, I don't need to name them, but there is a man like Dumolulu Briggs, who Rivers people can rally around and then get a clean shift from this Odili, Wike, Amechi dynasty. Because Amechi himself, can you imagine a situation where, as we talk today, Wike's son is being placed.
Is that true?
It's being positioned. True. I got this from somebody who is an insider.
Position for what?
Position for the House of Representatives. And imagine that kind of slight, that the one who is representing Wike in the House of Representatives is the one that is coming to be governor. In other words, all these stories of, oh, he's going to give it to an Okrika man, Iyayi, all those names, you see them banding. Once you get to that point,
there's going to be a swap.
Rivers people will be shocked to see that. Another Ikwere man. Now look at the situation where somebody is leaving office and you hand the governor in between and
just listen to this. I need to, like, are we even a democracy? Somebody is going to give, as if the electorate is not counting. He's going to give.
It's why a number of them will say, I'm guaranteeing Mr. President 2 million votes.
How?
Exactly how?
Going to?
We need to go. Mr. Fubara. We definitely need to have a part 2 of this conversation.
And by the way, he has a book that covers the
Yes, I said the river season of insanity. Yes. As at 2018, I didn't know it was going to get this bad. See where we are. So what I'm saying is, by the time we propagate, we do our little best, and then people come in willingly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Caleb Fubara. Always a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you very much for joining us.